to the SUSU Elections Debate 2013 with me, James Binns. Here with me are the candidates for VP Engagement. Guys, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Claire Gilbert.
I'm Fiona Cook.
Hi, I'm Adam Maloney.
Okay, so over the next 30 minutes we're going to be raising some of the key issues these guys are campaigning on. Guys, would you first like to give a slight introduction to what your key policies are? Start off with you first, Adam.
Well, my three main points are employability for all students by signposting them to relevant opportunities within the union, accessibility of all student groups, and publicity for various student groups as well.
Okay, thank you. Go on, Fiona.
Yeah, I want recognition, so awards for the engagement groups, awareness through branding and social media, accessibility with websites, better training and relationship with the community with student issues, and feedback for things like freshers so that we represent the student body.
Okay, and you, Claire?
Mine are kind of based on visibility, a long-term strategy that means that for this year, 'cause it's a new role, it can continue forward. It's all about the little things that improve the situation. I bring an impartial approach, and I think it's all about celebrating what we do and kind of encouraging it even more.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. So we're going to move on to the first question of a few. Number one, should the union be supporting student enterprise such as Fish on Toast, which I guess you've all heard about, or should the union be providing it themselves? I'll come to you first, Claire.
Yeah, I think it is the role of the union to support the societies rather than provide it itself, because I think part of what being part of enterprise is learning new skills, developing situations, and it's not all about just the societies. It's about that individual on the street who's like, actually, I'm really good at designing jewellery, and going, I don't know how I'm going to make a career out of this, but it's finding out how to do that, and I think it'd be far better to have it student-led than have it imposed from the top down.
Okay, so you would carry on with a Fish on Toast approach then?
Yes, I would. I mean, they're a society that's very successful. I mean, they do 50 events over a year. They've done about 30 already. Okay. I think with a bit more encouragement, if that's what they do with no amount of money investment, then what could they do with a bit more SUSU support?
Okay, that's fair enough. Adam?
Yeah, I agree. I really think it's about supporting the enterprise groups, particularly developing them and marketing them. Not many students know about Enactus, as well as Fish on Toast, the various projects they offer, and the amount of employability they can gain from all these groups. Particularly, for example, the Wise Mind project, you can get teaching experience. Students don't know about this, so it's about marketing and publicising this, getting more students involved in this, and therefore it will just grow from the inside by being student-led.
So you want a union approach of helping that to grow, but letting these societies effectively run themselves?
Yeah, it's just about marketing them more, getting them out there.
Okay, fair enough. Fiona?
Yeah, I totally agree. It should be SUSU supporting students. It's more on student innovation and rather than a kind of career-led thing, not all course-based. And I think we should be giving them funding to do their own things, but while we're giving that to them, and the student enterprise officer should be supporting all the student enterprise societies as well, so that it kind of works its way down, so they've all got support.
Okay, so you're all basically agreeing that you would take a step-back approach and let these societies run themselves. But you all talk about more funding, yeah? Yeah, so where would you get that funding from?
I think it's actually, the funding is there, they just don't know how to apply for it. So this year I helped allocate out the societies and performing arts budgets. And when you look at the funding form, the ways that they apply through the forms are for things that can't be funded through SUSU, because it's a charity, it can't buy food, etc. It's kind of helping them actually have their base level of what they need, their resources, which then means that they can go further, do their events, which then get more people in, which then gives them more members, which then gives them higher brand awareness. So it's like a knock-on effect from that point. So the money is there already, they just don't know how to access it. I think also for businesses, for people wanting to set up, there's the take-off fund within the university. I think the fact that students don't get checked up on as to how that's used, the union societies aren't used to their resources, they're not even asked whether these projects are any good or not. I think that's £50,000 just sat there that the university think they've ticked a box on, but we should really be using.
Would you like to come back on that?
Yeah, I agree. It should be, they have the innovation fund, and we need to listen to what the students want on allocation, so see where they think the student money should be going for enterprise and things like that, so that it's in the right places.
Yeah, I agree. I want to introduce a system of feedback and support throughout the year, so enterprise societies can constantly go, this is where we need help, this is where we want the union to fill in for us. And I always want to be that person that kind of steps in, gives a helping hand, fills that gap, to make sure if they need the funding, if they need the publicity, or they need the brand awareness, then that will always be there for them when they can't provide it themselves.
Okay, actually that links on to another question. As you all know, VP Engagement is a brand new role. How do you see this role progressing in your time in office? I'll come to you first, Fiona.
I think it can progress quite well. The roles that are staying under it are ones that are quite overlooked sometimes, so especially with community volunteering and enterprise, they don't get the support I think they need or deserve. and having a SAB who's focused on those areas in particular means we can bring them up to the level they should be and can be, and recognise that as well.
Okay, so you see the role as sort of just bringing up other people through the ranks then, or?
I think that's quite a key thing, bringing up the key areas that we have. So RAG, student enterprise, community volunteering and communities, we can bring them up through having one person to focus on them and let them achieve what they can do.
Okay, Adam, what do you think?
I think it's a mixture between support and development. Support in the sense of taking a step back, not telling these societies what they need to do, but allowing them to be student-led, have the innovation and the space to be creative. But as I was saying before, supporting them in terms of funding, ideas, development, so they can move through the union and blend up themselves. And development in the sense of particularly community volunteering, when we're going a bit more from the ground up, building that up, getting students involved in that, recruiting student leaders to get to kind of run that themselves, so it can build up to a point where you can just support it and not have to always raise it up from the ground year after year.
Yeah.
It's just got some consistency throughout it.
How do you ensure that sustainability though, with students coming and going?
I think the important part of sustainability is to put forward a plan that lasts more than just 1 year.
Yeah,
That way, when you hand over to the next sabbatical officer, everything just ticks over like clockwork. So you never have a point where you achieve things only for it to be raised and rebuilt next year.
Okay, Claire?
Yeah, after writing a 5-year strategy for performing arts, I definitely agree. You can't just look at 1 year. I think that how this role will develop is that it means we take a more holistic approach. I mean, there's going to be loads of buzzwords thrown around today, isn't there? And that actually you look at all these areas, and from talking to all the different student leaders, people involved, what you see is the same problems, and it's that they don't communicate to each other because there's 20,000 students at our university and they're not all going to meet each other, no matter how much, everyone bumps into each other in SUSU. And I think that kind of collaboration that will come through by the end of the year, hopefully. I mean, even just within the enterprise societies, even just within RAG and the other areas within SUSU, I think that will mean that we can then celebrate them further, and that will mean that it'll actually create more of a community of people within it. So that's hopefully how the role will develop over the year.
Okay, it's quite interesting. You're talking about making a community of students sent through these events.
Yeah.
All of you, though, are sort of talking about taking a step back approach about helping through funding, helping through support. What's the difference between you all then?
I would like to say, I think that, well, we've not seen each other's manifestos yet,
No,
we're still all sat here trying to suss each other out, being like, so, what have you got down? I'd like to think that we just have different backgrounds, and that's how we approach these things differently.
I think we have slightly different focuses on where we want the emphasis on the support of the student groups. I think we naturally all want support. I would say my main emphasis is on the employability of individual students.
Okay.
So RAG experience can get you experience in the third sector. Student enterprise can get experience in various financial and business areas. So I think it's about helping the average student get involved in these groups to increase their employability, not only to increase their university experience, but also make sure that they have a successful career afterwards.
Yeah, I definitely agree that that's not something that really kind of concerns my kind of interpretation of this role, because for me this is all about empowering the student to do what they can and what they want to do. And I think that's one of the great things about all these different areas, is that they're opportunity giving, and so it's like I almost want to make sure that those processes are proper in the first place, and I think a lot of work needs to go into that. The fact that community action, as it will change to, needs kind of, it doesn't the groundwork doing. I think enterprise, even just the presidents regularly meeting up, I think mine's far more on a kind of a nitty gritty level of like what can we physically do here and now this year, but with a long-term plan that kind of ends up somewhere in 5 years.
Okay.
And whilst I think employability is obviously very important, that's why we're here to kind of get degrees that will help us later on in life. I think the kind of extracurricular aspect is really important, and making the most of your university life, so the community we have, and developing and making the most of SUSU and what you have to offer, because there's so many like clubs and societies and different things that we get involved with, and just making students really aware of just what the variety is and what there is for them.
Yeah, I'd like to come on to that point actually. That's really interesting what you say about different student groups, and that SUSU is there to help employability, other aspects of employability, because obviously, as we know, employers don't just want a degree now. So what student groups would you guys, if elected, focus on? And which groups need the most engagement then with SUSU? I'll come to you first, Claire.
Yeah, I think on the kind of communications aspect of this role, I'd start with freshers, and actually before freshers. I think that an important part of kind of student life begins on your results day, and I think it's kind of a little bit overlooked at the minute. Like there should be email out, UCAS have your emails, the university get all your contact details as soon as you kind of say yes and accept your kind of place. And why don't we send them out something really cool and graphic about what SUSU is, what you can get involved in. I want more student-led approach in the freshers pack, like why can't a student leader write something or add something new to it. I mean, it would take down time from CMT and that sort of thing. And so I think for me, the student groups that really need to be engaged are right from the beginning. With RAG, for example, having like teams of kind of RAG freshers in halls. So it's kind of been started, but I think building on that there's always a core of at least 5 to 10 that you know will always be there. So if you go on a RAG raid, you know that there'll always be someone there you know, because that was, for me, what I found really hard was turning up as the only fresher from kind of Wessex Lane and not knowing anyone else and kind of being like, okay, I'll hold my bucket in the cold. So I think for me, they're the student groups that really are so important. It's almost like the pre-students, because once you've got from the beginning, they'll be there for life.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate it. So you think that focusing on freshers is the key aspect, but surely you're not just talking about freshers within their first semester where they're still finding their feet. What about for later on?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. This is a key aspect. So
right, okay.
There's a lot more to it, because I think part of the problem that enterprise societies have, for example, is that most of their members are third years or first years. And so there's a big divide between the two. And that with enterprise societies, it's taking everything that they do and giving them kind of the resources. So if they do want to set up a business with an idea they've had whilst they're at university, or it's about actually using the knowledge that they've got within SUSU, because I think that's a big aspect that's kind of ignored at the minute, is actually taking someone who's actively engaged in business modelling and putting them into our organisation and being like, actually, you do know something, even though we're just students. They have a vast kind of wealth of knowledge. So I think every student group kind of will be engaged with our role, because that's the whole nature of it, being engagemental.
Okay. Adam?
Well, I think I do agree with Claire. I think it does come from the bottom down in terms of freshers. I think it's good to kind of focus on all students and not to kind of ignore. I mean, first years are really important, and I think it will be good to have some student-led elements in the freshers pack, and maybe some elements of employability. I think it's good for third years as well to get involved, kind of looking on to, you know, it's not too late to get involved. There's always things you can get involved with, even at the very last minute. You've become a RAG team leader in your third year and still have as rewarding experience as you would be in your first year. In terms of engaging student groups together as well, I want to focus on societies in the athletic union and getting involved and collaborating with RAG a bit more, running their own fundraisers, kind of reward for running their own fundraisers, recognition through your RAG challenge. That's worked in the past and hopefully it'll work in the future. Islamic society normally raises over £5,000 a year. Large, even medium-sized societies like that, just a focus on that can mean a massive increase of RAG overall, and even with enterprise.
So you're right. Yeah, well, RAG will come on to later actually. So it's good you bring that up. So basically, you've got a broad coalition there. You're talking about athletic students, minority student groups, all that sort of thing. So nothing specific, no specific group like freshers or.
I would say freshers are one of my main emphasis in terms of communication, engaging student groups. I think we need to be more concise with the way we engage with freshers, more kind of open with this is all the opportunities you have to do, and make it less messy. I want to kind of clean up the website a bit, make it a bit sharper, have a online system where if you're fresher you can say, well, I'm interested in, you know, kayaking, hiking and charity work, and then you can get the results of all the different societies that they can get involved with.
That does exist though.
It does exist, but I would like to make it better and more concise, because at the moment it's not entirely clear. I want it to be more of like a tick box function. It's just more accessible, more kind of fresh to it.
Okay, I appreciate that. Fiona?
Following on what I said about making the most of the SUSU and student life, clearing up the bonfire, making that a lot more accessible. Obviously, every single year we have issues, so maybe creating a working group or something to try and sort that out. So whether that's having it separate days, so AU in stocks, or using more spaces like the garden court, that could work. And then SUSU utilising each other. There's so many different areas within here, and making the most of like the media department, and RAG working with different people, and there's really excellent things to do here, but we don't work with together enough. So if we do that, I think that would help, and in that way kind of engaging the student body as a whole rather than one specific area, like everyone working together.
So why do you think so you don't think there's any one group that needs the most attention?
I think if you're looking at engagement specifically, things like CV and student enterprise are probably two key areas, because they don't get as much support as they need now, I don't think. So for my role, that would probably be the start of the focus, to really improve them and bring them up.
Okay, I hear both of you talk about the AU students. What is it about the AU students that you want to engage with, you know?
I just think they have a lot of potential for things like RAG and volunteering, so they can make things a bit more new. So we've had ideas of sports swaps, so say hockey playing football and football playing hockey, or tournaments like Hammering Catalyst did one last year of netball, invited different clubs to get involved with that. So using their skills and twisting them a bit to give them new chances and new ways to do fundraising and different experiences.
Okay.
For me, it's all about ease of access, making it easier for athletic union clubs to fundraise without sacrificing too much of their own money and fundraising for themselves. I know it's very difficult being an AU club. I'm part of one. Fundraising for yourself can be a bit of a stress, but if we can organise a system where a small percentage goes to a charity of their choice, we'll do all the legwork, we'll do all the hard work for them, form signed, all they do is just say, here's the money, and we send it off with a little certificate, comes back to them, they know they've done it, and that way it just makes it so much easier for the athletic students to get involved in fundraising without any of the stress or the hassle of losing much of the money or actually having to go out of their way too much because they're just helping themselves as well.
Okay. Claire, do you have anything to contribute?
I think it's all about empowerment, and it's that not every student will want to kind of fundraise, and not every student will want to kind of take part in charity work.
Yeah, right.
But it's giving them the chance that if they think, actually, you know, let's take part in a 24-hour run, or let's, you know, take part in a kind of sponsored row, that they can do that. And I think also students do have their different areas that they're interested in, but it's about communicating to them that there are lots of opportunities, and that even within kind of like the athletic union, there are more opportunities than they think there are. I also think that part of this working with external communities is celebrating how great we are, is that because the AU kind of has a bit of a negative kind of connotations that they go out and they drink and they party hard, but actually we should celebrate everything that they do and all the hard work they do, which I think started this year, kind of with the kind of rag articles in the Wessex scene saying how much everyone's raised. Sport definitely proved that all the other societies were being put to shame, so I think in that sense as well, the AU needs the communications and the external community support.
Okay, it's quite interesting that you kind of mentioned it and raise it as a key area. Moving on, we'll touch on to RAG now, what you was talking about. Okay, so RAG, should it be there for fundraising purposes, or should it be there to engage with students? Fiona, I'd like to come to you first on this.
I'm going to be a bit cheeky and kind of say both, and engage with students through fundraising.
Okay, engage with students through fundraising, okay.
So yeah, obviously the key thing for RAG is it stands for raise and give. We're raising money to give it to other people, so fundraising is the key issue, but we need to use the students who want to do that and get involved with that and utilise their passion to engage with them by fundraising.
Okay, that's quite interesting. So you've got quite a cheeky answer there where you're using RAG. If you had to pick one, which one would you pick?
Just logistically, it's raise and give, so that is raising and giving, which is fundraising.
So you
if
say
I had to,
so fundraising is the most important one then, really.
That's what RAG is, I think.
Okay, Adam.
Well, I have to agree. It's a bit of both. Fundraising will and always be a very important part of RAG. It's just the fundament of it. But I think I really want to focus this year on engaging student groups. Individual students and engaging students in RAG. And one of the main things I want to do is reward RAG volunteers, not just through recognition and medals and awards, but get some third sector opportunities for them, maybe some volunteering opportunities, get the charities that we work with to do talks if they've got graduate opportunities, kind of make it so that you're volunteering in RAG, you're doing it for a good cause, but there's also some personal benefits and some personal incentives that you can take away, and that will always kind of stay with you for life, you know, if you go into the third sector.
Okay, what though if students one day decide, you know, we want to get rid of RAG, don't like it, don't really want to fundraise anymore, it's not a way that we want to be engaged with, what do you do then?
Well, hopefully they wouldn't ever get rid of RAG. Why do we want to get rid of a charity organisation?
You'd push to keep it then, would you?
Well, who wouldn't want to keep it?
I think also you've got to look at the fact that there's not just RAG, we do have specific charity societies,
Okay.
and obviously they don't come under our remit and this role, but they will be an important part of what we do, and it's about using them as well. So I think even if RAG was got rid of, I think there's still a culture within us that we still feel socially responsible. I mean, the fact is that some enterprise societies are technically raising and giving because they kind of do their events to then put lights up in Africa, like this, on a very simplistic form. So actually, for me, because I disagree, I think that RAG isn't an amount of money, it's more about an outlook on life. You can raise awareness and you can give your time, and you're still a part of RAG. Even if you only raise £10, I still don't think that you're any less than the person that kind of gives £100.
So you think it's there purely for student engagement then, really?
I
Because
think
it doesn't matter how much...
I don't think it's there purely
Right.
for student engagement. For me, the most important one is engagement.
Okay.
And actually empowerment is actually a word that I'd say, and that you should give people the chance to, if they want to, raise money and raise awareness. And I think most students hopefully would, and if they don't, then that's a conscious decision that they should make. But part of our role is making it easy, so if they want to, they can. Because at the minute, it's not that easy.
Well, we should note that what your point earlier, that RAG and the charity societies are actually one and the same thing, because RAG simply stands for All Students Southampton's Raising Money for Charity. And I guess one of the challenges with this role is allowing that to happen, and letting these charity societies, believe and know they are part of RAG overall. And that's why I want to introduce a Union Charities Committee to kind of make sure everyone's included, so there can be some real collaboration points on awareness as well as just fundraising.
Similarly to that, I've said about setting up like a charities forum, so that there's so much fundraising that goes on, not just with the charities, the societies themselves, individuals, so everyone knows there's support if they want to do things, get ideas, and create a community feel within RAG, so that all of the societies are naturally part of RAG.
Okay, you can check this on the manifestos when they come out later. Just to make sure Fiona's not copying what Adam just said. Claire, would you like to come back on that? I mean, do you think this idea of like a council of fundraising is a good thing to do?
For me, it's not about all the groups that fundraise, it's about the individuals, and you can't stick 22,000 people in a room. I think we know that from the
I just called you Fiona.
Did you?
I
didn't know. I just carried on using your body language. I was like, he must be talking to me. It's fine. I'm just so engaged. For me, it is important for the communication, but actually I think for the forum to exist, I think the RAG committee as it stands has improved greatly, like under Adam, the changes that happened. I think actually enterprise societies now need to look at themselves and go, we need to work more as a team. And so for me, the forum for RAG would be a really good idea. It's not something I've considered before, but I'm open to new ideas. But I think the forum for discussion for enterprise and setting up this new kind of engagement zone is far more important, and that actually these areas work together. Like the fact that enterprise and RAG have nothing to do with each other, and yet they do fairly similar things by running events.
Well, I agree. I think there's a lot that different student groups can learn from each other as well, and there's a lot of kind of models that have been used in different universities or different unions or different elements of SUSU that we can apply to different groups, and like you say, kind of use certain models to improve enterprise as well. Yeah, I agree with that.
And I realised I said with the forum fundraising, I didn't mean just fundraising, I mean like awareness of what the charities do, so greater links between where the money goes and what it's for, and supporting each other with what they're doing.
Yeah, how important do you think that is, raising the awareness of where the money's going?
We have the RAG weekly meetings every Thursday, and we.
There's a social afterwards.
And this was actually quite a big area of debate. It's very difficult to kind of split the two up really, because I think RAG does include everything.
I think it has to be part of the awareness, because there's no point in just raising money for money's sake.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, you start a business. And usually they're not even for money for money's sake. I think I do agree that awareness is important, and that at the minute I don't think there's as much kind of gratification from fundraising, because we just see at the end of the year there's this number, but that number doesn't technically mean anything. Like the kind of pros of comic relief and sports relief is that they say £5 gives you this, £10 gives you that. There's not anything really in SUSU that says at the end of the year, yay, we've got this big number, but no one knows what the big number means.
Really, I want RAG to be synonymous with not just all students raising money for Southampton students raising money for charity, but the particular 3 charities. People should know RAG and think, right, 3 charities this year: Water Aid, Samaritans, Marrow, without even just thinking about it. It's just that's when I put £1 in there, I know it's going to those charities, and I think we need to make that much evident with just much more post-marketing publicity throughout the year.
Okay, and I've heard some of you talk about getting hold of the enterprise. All of you talking about getting hold of the enterprise societies to help with this. What about the wider student population? Is there anyone who you could engage with within the within the student groups to try and help this happen, other than the enterprise societies? Claire? Oh,
definitely. I think the fact that RAG isn't at every SUSU event is almost something that just seems silly. Like, why isn't RAG at the performing arts block? Why don't SUSUtv and RAG kind of team up? I mean, they made a promotional video, it's on the SUSU website, but why isn't that a regular thing that they do? I think it's kind of making RAG an all-pervasive part. I think it's also through the kind of community volunteering and community action projects that we've kind of not discussed for a while. I think you can use those across the board and use their experience, because they are actively going out into a different group. They're not necessarily raising the money, which is why at the minute they're not part of RAG, but they are kind of raising an awareness of kind of good work, where is an area that does need work. And actually some of the kind of projects that students from Southampton have done have led on to them being charities in the following years. So I think they also, as students who volunteer, give their time up, have a massive experience of student access.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. I like that idea of collaboration more. Adam?
Well, there's a huge potential for collaboration. It's worked really well before with RAG and media. In 2011, there were some really good collaborations there throughout the year for publicity. I think that we can extend it, like Claire was saying, to community volunteering, certain student-led groups. Also, there's students that are setting up new charity societies pretty much every year. Friends of Little Stars was something that happened last year or the year before. That's something that's very recent, and it's something that requires RAG's help, but also they can help RAG through marketing in itself. If they endorse it and they kind of highlight how important RAG is for them and how much it's been a benefit, and making it more of a benefit so that they do that, they do shout about it, then it's mutual beneficial collaboration, and that's really what it is. It's just about mutual beneficial collaboration.
Okay, across the board.
Across the board and throughout for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything that's been said. I mentioned earlier, obviously, utilising all the societies and everywhere that we have, and obviously AU, PA, like you said, but also JTRs, I think, is a key thing.
Okay,
We've spoken
yeah.
to some old presidents, and they're really keen for RAG to be present for that, like all the freshers, get new students to know who RAG is and what we're doing and why we're there, and have it like so they know from the start what we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting where you all talk at the beginning when I asked you what community groups are most important. And really, you've all got lots more than you answered at the beginning. So
We've opened up now.
You're
We're
opened up.
caring,
That's it, you're
sharing,
caring.
we're relaxed.
We've chilled out now.
Yeah, good, good. I'm pleased.
There's something in this water.
It's vodka.
Is it?
Yeah. Right, moving on to the last question. As many of you know, community engagement policies have recently been relaunched. Why do you think that was, and has it been a failure of the university that they've had to be relaunched? I'll come to you first, Adam.
Failure of the university or union?
Both.
Both, you decide.
Oh,
okay,
What do
I'll
you
decide.
think?
Good
You
answer.
You decide.
I wouldn't necessarily, it was a complete failure. I would say it was an attempt to kind of engage with the local community.
Okay.
I think that to solve the issue, which is basically the question in order to overcome this, I think what we need to do is dispel these student myths that we're all drunkard, cone-wearing, peeing in people's gardens and so on and so forth. That's not how students could be seen, because we do so many good things. I think what we need to do is utilise the student talent and showcase that to the local community. We've got some amazing work with performing arts. No one knows that more than Claire. We've got some fantastic things with RAG. We've got some excellent things with student enterprise. And there are many things that can be applied to the local community. Business sessions in schools, you can have fundraising workshops in local community for local charities, working with local charities, working with local theatres, local chapels, for all the different kinds of things. We've got so much potential to say what a great union we are. We shouldn't just be an island of affluence, away from the rest of the community. We need to engage with them to let them know what a positive impact students have on society.
Okay, Fiona?
Yeah, I've got a lot of very similar points to Adam, really. And I think it's also about getting feedback from the community and seeing what they want. So inviting people from the residents' associations to come in and help improve the reputation of Southampton. And it's not just Southampton, it's all universities. They're always quite isolated. So just feeding back from them and then giving back to them as well, so that we're not just there to kind of take and stay there for 3 years. It's our home for 3 years, so we want to make the most of it and work with them while we're here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Making people realise that it's our home, so we obviously want it to be a nice place too. Okay, Claire?
I think for me, the ideals behind community volunteering are very honourable and good and great, but the fact was that there was always a jostling between the university and between SUSU as to who had control over what, and actually no one looked at which has the best skills, which has the best resources. SUSU should have been in charge of marketing and engagement, and the university should have been in charge of admin. But the university kind of don't take that kind of approach, and therefore they like to treat it as their own project. And I think that by community action becoming a more autonomous entity, what's the big word, that kind of is almost immediately solved. But I think it's things like at the training session, sometimes students feel like condescended, that the information on the website isn't updated, and also that we as a union have no information as to who takes part. I think that's one fundamental area that will improve, is that through community action, we know who's applied to do projects, we know if the projects go ahead, when they go ahead, and it would be that we would be able to support the projects, whereas at the minute with community volunteering, that just doesn't exist.
So you're talking about collaboration, Southampton Union and Southampton University as a whole working together to try and outreach to the public.
And following on from that, I've said I think we need some more clarity between SUSU and the university and who's providing which services. So realising who's best at what and sorting that out and making that a kind of more formal agreement so that it's better for community volunteering.
I also think one of the main issues with CV is that you've got some really good opportunities. There's some really good volunteering opportunities that you can get involved with, but no one knows anything about them. No one's heard of it. No one knows how to do it, and it's making that clear and easy for students, because if it's not easy, people won't get involved.
No.
And that's really what this role really is about. It's just making things easier for the average student to get involved, increase their employability, and just have a better time at university.
My favourite one has to be that there are definitely opportunities on that website that have been there since the week after Freshers Week, because I'm sure we've all like checked it out. Like when I got to you guys, I was like, oh, I'm really keen to do cool stuff, and then, and then it's like I never got a reply, so I just kind of left it and forgot. Did performing arts instead, so but
that worked out well for you. So that's good.
But
it just needs to be more consistent is the issue. So I think we're all pretty on the same page of that one.
And I think that's quite a nice way to finish. Guys, have you got any final thoughts? I'll go over to you first, Claire.
Yeah, I think vote Gilbert for Gold for VP student engagement, for VP engagement, if you want a long-term strategy, enthusiasm, but also practical things that can change in the short term for every area across the board.
That was really well rehearsed, well done. Fiona?
I'm just all for better recognition, further awareness, training, accessibility, and representing the students and finding out exactly what they want.
Okay.
For me, it's just about making things easier for the average student, easier for the student group to fundraise and to get involved with enterprise, and increasing just the average student's employability to make them enjoy university and enjoy life afterwards. So, only Maloney for VP engagement.
Okay, guys, thank you for joining us today. Hopefully, this has been informative for you guys at home. It will give you the opportunity to make an informed decision. If you want to check out the manifestos, have a look at www.susu.org/elections. Join in for the next debate later on in the week. Thank you.